Ever wonder how a simple act of kindness, a fleeting moment of connection, can completely reroute the course of your life? For Emily Carter, a struggling single mom and pizza waitress in the heart of Chicago, life was a relentless cycle of long shifts and mounting bills. She was about to serve a customer that would change her life forever, but she didn't know it yet. For many, Pizza Paradise was just another greasy spoon pizza joint, a quick stop for a cheap meal. But for Emily, it was everything. At 29, she worked tirelessly, juggling her waitressing job with raising her rambunctious 6-year-old son, Leo. Every penny she earned went towards rent, groceries, and the dwindling hope of one day returning to college to pursue her dream of becoming a teacher. Emily would adjust her apron, glancing at the worn-out clock above the pizza oven. Almost 9 p.m. The dinner rush was finally slowing, offering her aching feet a blessed respite. She moved between tables with a weary grace, her plastered-on smile barely masking the exhaustion that had become her constant companion. The regulars knew a little about her story. A deadbeat ex, a single mother struggling to make ends meet, some would leave an extra dollar or two, a silent acknowledgement of her hardship. But Emily never asked for help. She clung to the belief that she could make it on her own, even when the odds seemed stacked against her. The bell above the door jingled, signaling a new customer. Emily looked up from wiping down a table. Her breath hitched. A man in a simple leather jacket walked in, exuding an aura of quiet confidence. He moved with the easy grace of someone accustomed to being in the spotlight. It took Emily a moment, but when he flashed a genuine smile at the hostess, recognition dawned. It was Jake Ryan. The beloved comedian known for his quick wit and relatable everyman charm. Her mind raced, flashing back to countless Saturday mornings spent watching his stand-up specials with Leo, their laughter echoing through their tiny apartment. The way Leo would mimic his silly voices, finding joy even amidst their struggles. But Emily couldn't afford to get starstruck. The hostess was leading him to a secluded booth in her section. Emily took a deep breath, grabbed her order pad, and plastered on her most professional smile. As she approached, she noticed the subtle details, the kind crinkles around his eyes, the genuine warmth in his smile. "Good evening," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Welcome to Pizza Paradise. Can I get you something to drink?" He looked up, his eyes twinkling. "Just a water, please. It's been a long day." Emily nodded, fighting to maintain her composure. "Of course, I'll be right back. Would you like to look at the menu?" "Nah," he replied, waving a hand dismissively. "I trust your judgment. What's good tonight?" As Emily turned to place his order, she heard his voice again. "Busy night?" She paused, surprised. Most celebrities wanted to be left alone. "It's been pretty steady," she answered. "But we're winding down now." He nodded thoughtfully. "You handle it well, very efficient, like a well-oiled machine." Emily felt a blush creep up her cheeks. "Thank you. Years of practice, I guess." She hurried off to the kitchen, her mind buzzing. When Emily returned with his water, Jake was gazing at a framed picture on the wall, a faded photograph of the restaurant's founder, a beaming Italian immigrant. He gestured towards it with interest. "Family business, huh?" Emily set down his water carefully, touched by the genuine curiosity in his voice. "Yes, sir. The founder's the owner's great-grandfather. A real family person." "That's something," Jake said, nodding his head, sipping his water. "You have family?" he asked, blowing gently on his water. Something in his tone made it feel less like small talk and more like genuine curiosity. "A 6-year-old son," Emily replied, her face softening. He's my world." Jake chuckled warmly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. 6 is a great age, full of imagination." He paused, studying her face. "But raising a kid alone, that can't be easy." Emily blinked, surprised. How did he know she was a single parent? But before she could respond, the kitchen bell rang, signaling that his pizza was ready. As she served his pizza, she noticed how he thanked the cook who handed it to her and smiled at the teenage dishwasher who was scrubbing pots in the back. There was no pretense, no celebrity arrogance, just genuine kindness that seemed to radiate outwards, touching everyone around him. Throughout his meal, Jake ate slowly, savoring each bite, occasionally glancing around the restaurant as if absorbing its atmosphere. Sometimes their eyes would meet and he'd offer a small, almost imperceptible nod that made her feel strangely seen, like he understood something about her that she couldn't quite articulate. When Emily brought his check, Jake looked up at her with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. "You know," he said quietly, "I wasn't always this Jake Ryan. I started out washing dishes in a place just like this. Had people helping me along the way, small kindnesses that changed everything." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, placing it carefully beside his payment. "Please read this later, when your shift is done." Emily's heart began to race, but she maintained her professional composure. "Thank you for dining with us," she managed. "I hope you enjoy your meal." Jake stood, adjusting his jacket. "The pleasure was all mine," he replied. "Keep shining, Emily. Your son is watching." With that, he walked out, leaving Emily staring at the envelope as if it held the secrets of the universe. But she still had tables to clear, dishes to wash, and 2 more hours left in her shift. Whatever was in that envelope would have to wait. Finally, her shift ended at 11 p.m. Emily's hands trembled as she sat in the break room, the envelope lying before her like a ticking time bomb. The restaurant was quiet now, the only sounds the muffled clatter of dishes and the distant hum of the city. Taking a deep breath, she carefully opened the envelope and unfolded the letter inside. "Dear Emily, when I was a kid scrubbing pots, someone gave me a shot, saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. Tonight, I see that same spark in you. The way you hustle, even when you're exhausted. The love in your voice when you talk about your son. The grit it takes to keep going when life throws you curveballs. You remind me of my grandma. She worked 2 jobs so she can have a future, but she couldn't do it herself. True grit isn't about how many punches you can take, but about getting up every morning and choosing to hope for the best. I see that grit in you. Inside this envelope is a check for $30,000. Use it for anything you want. School, your son, whatever dream you had on hold. I have a friend running a program that helps single parents with their education goals. I already talked to him about you, and he said, there's a full scholarship waiting for you. I am here if you want it. Your son needs you to show that dream is real. Sometimes we all need someone to believe in us until we can believe in ourselves. Keep pushing forward, Emily. Leo's is watching and learning the most important lesson there is, which is that you have to work hard for everything in life and nothing is free. Jake Ryan. P.S. Here's my personal email. Let me know when you graduate. I'd like to be there cheering you on. Emily's vision blurred with tears as she pulled out the check. Her hands shook so violently, she almost dropped it. $30,000 and a full scholarship. It felt surreal, like a scene from a movie. She thought about all the nights she'd stayed up late studying while Leo slept, all the times she'd considered giving up when the bills piled up, all the silent prayers for a miracle, a sign that she wasn't alone. And now this, a blessing disguised in an envelope delivered by someone who'd seen her, really seen her, in a single evening. Emily pulled out her phone, her tears flowing freely, and called her mom, Maria. "Mom," she sobbed, "you're not going to believe what just happened." Within an hour, Emily sat at her kitchen table, the letter and check spread out before her, while Maria read everything for the 10th time. "Mija," Maria whispered, her own eyes brimming with tears. "Do you know what this means? You can go back to school. You can finally chase your dreams." Emily stared at the letter again, rereading Jake's words over and over. "I know," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But it's more than just the money, Mom. He understood. He saw me, without me saying a word." Later that night, after Maria had left, Emily crept into Leo's room. He was sound asleep, clutching his favorite teddy bear. She watched his peaceful face, thinking about how this gift would change his life too. The next morning, while making breakfast, Emily overheard Leo talking to himself. "Mom looks different," he whispered, "like she's lighter." And he was right. For the first time in years, Emily felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She could breathe again. Weeks turned into months, and Emily's life transformed. She cut back her hours at the pizza place, enrolled in night classes, and watched her grades soar. The scholarship covered tuition and books, while Jake's gift provided her with the financial breathing room to spend more quality time with Leo. One evening, 6 months after Jake's visit, Emily sat helping Leo with his homework when he looked up suddenly. "Mom," he said, Remember when you said sometimes superheroes come in disguise? Emily smiled. Yes, honey, why? Was Mr. Jake a superhero? Because everything's different now. You smile more. You don't look so tired. Emily pulled Leo into a hug, thinking about Jake's words. Sometimes we all need someone to believe in us. He wasn't a superhero, Emily said softly. He was just someone who remembered what it's like to struggle and chose to pay it forward. 2 years later, Emily stood on a stage, a teaching degree in her hand. In the audience, Leo cheered wildly, while Maria captured every moment on her phone. And there in the back row sat Jake Ryan, who had kept his promise to attend. After the ceremony, he approached Emily, a warm smile lighting up his face. I knew you could do it, he said simply. Leo must be very proud. Emily hugged him, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered, not just for the help, but for seeing me that night, for believing in me. Jake shook his head gently. I just reminded you of the strength you already possessed. It was always there. That evening, as Emily tucked Leo into bed, he asked sleepily, Mom, can we help someone too? Like Mr. Jake helped us? Emily kissed her son's forehead, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. We already are, honey. Every time I teach my students, every time we volunteer at the soup kitchen, every time we show kindness to others, we're paying it forward. And so, Emily's story continues, not just as a teacher who inspires young minds, but as someone who learned that sometimes the greatest gift isn't the money or the opportunity, but the moment when someone sees you, truly sees you, and reminds you of your own strength. Now, when new students walk into her classroom, Emily greets them with the same warmth and attention she received that night. Because she learned from Jake Ryan that sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything. Every year on the anniversary of that night, Emily and Leo order pizza from Pizza Paradise, sitting at the same booth, remembering how one act of kindness can ripple outwards, touching countless lives. Does Emily's story inspire you? Have you ever experienced a moment when someone's kindness unexpectedly changed your life? How can you be a Jake Ryan to someone else today? If this story touched your heart, remember that superheroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they walk among us, leaving notes that change lives and reminding us that we are all more powerful than we know. May you and your loved ones have good health. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the magic that happens when we choose to see and uplift each other.